So, Snowpocalypse 2019 was a hassle and a half and a lot of fun.
And we ended up having a really wonderful but crazy time on the road.
Before we left, we found out there was a huge polar vortex going through the entire Midwest and Northeast, which is where we were headed.
We were all a little nervous. Not everyone had really driven in snow like that, myself included.
We were contemplating whether or not we could even go before we even left.
It's the last week of January, and the polar vortex is moving in.
Our first show got canceled.
I think whatever force that was, because we all would have gotten very sick riding in the van. We found out that it had black mold.
And we last minute found somebody to work on it who had like a last minute cancellation, and he worked through the night on it.
Our schedule got set back like 6 or 7 hours.
It just seemed like every 2 steps forward was 1 step back.
Trying to get to a gig, trying to get to sound check, through a snowstorm. It was just absolutely crazy.
We went to New York the next day. We played at MERCURY Lounge, and that was a really great gig. We had a wonderful time. We were told that this was going to be the coldest we will have ever felt in our entire lives.
It's not that bad.
When John gets to New York, he is just a machine. He just goes and goes and goes. You know, everyone was really, really good about keeping their spirits up and keeping positive and looking ahead.
Come on, dude. If you do it for us, you do it for us.
Not very good at that.
Help him out, dude. Give him a spot.
So, the only show that we showed up early for was in Philly. We were 6 hours early for that gig. The vivacious soul of clogged arteries.
But for real, we are
In Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
It's funny.
I found a zit on my chest,
Oh, perfect.
so I'm gonna cover that guy up.
Taylor, we talked about this. Those are boobs.
You're blossoming into a real woman. So we were there for a very long time, going a little bit stir crazy. But we finally played the show. It was a great show.
Do I look like a scene kid? Oh, this literally, I slept in this like every night.
Yeah, I mean, there's like mustard on that. I mean,
There's a little mustard.
it's okay. There's still coffee on my face yesterday, so.
You spilled it on your face?
I was closing the van door with coffee in my hand, and it went.
How do you
spill coffee?
It got in my ear. Yeah, coffee in my ear.
We were driving back after the show, and Kyle had happened to take a wrong turn.
But when I was sitting at the intersection, waiting to go back, we heard this huge crash behind us.
And I see a car just sort of slammed into the sign.
Kyle thinks quickly, drives over and parks in the parking lot.
And we ran over to the car and saw a woman passed out in the front seat, and she wasn't moving.
Checked the pulse, and someone calls 911.
But it was really hard to tell if she was breathing or not.
Just one of those kind of slow motion things. No one really knew what to do, but everyone wanted to help.
She looked really pale, like a ghostly kind of pale. They start searching the car. They find her purse, some empty pill bottles. And
She had OD'd and ran into a sign.
if we hadn't been there, you don't really know who would have stopped, you know?
And just waiting for the first responders to come.
They were like, you guys banned or something?
They ended up having to pull her out of the vehicle into the street, and we watched them give her CPR, and she wasn't waking up.
They hadn't revived her, and they put her on the stretcher, and we were lucky enough to see her wake up right before they opened the ambulance doors.
I'll never forget that. I don't think anyone that was there will ever forget that feeling.
very intense night. Shook us up pretty hard to see somebody that we weren't sure if they were going to continue to live. Yeah, we got back to the hotel, and I think everybody just felt more just happy to be alive. So.
I don't know what was going on. It was one of those nights that was just a little strange, a little off, that just things keep happening and keep happening and keep happening.
We went to a hotel and we checked in, and we had just really all settled down. The adrenaline had worn off. We'd closed our eyes and we're going to go to sleep, and the fire alarm goes off. Like, just, come on.
So we all got up and grabbed all of our stuff, and 7 of us squeezed in this one hotel room. We're trying to get out.
I don't think anyone knew that it was really happening, because we were all so emotionally shot at this point.
But it's not like any of us actually got out of the building before the fire alarm stopped. Who knows what even set it off, but it was just like the icing on the crap cake we'd been eating for the last week. For just, that was a long drive home the next day.
But if I could take anything away from it, it would be to understand that we live a very lucky life, and that things like that happen every day around us and we don't see them, and that it's important to just take care of yourself. And if you know someone who needs help, or if you need help, there is help out there, and it comes in many different forms, and it's important that you get it.
But we did it. And in between all the terrible moments were a whole lot of really fun moments.
Just, it's a lesson for all of us, you know, for this whole thing that we're doing. It's scary.
In the end, sometimes taking a wrong turn puts you exactly where you need to be at exactly the right time.
Anything can happen on the road, and just kind of appreciate your time and appreciate what you're doing, and try to live in the moment as much as you can, and just be there for one another, because crazy stuff can happen and you never know what life will bring.
A gentleman pulled over and offered assistance. He shows up and he says, "I'm a doctor," and I'm just thinking like, wow, that's great. And he didn't have a phone with him, which was really weird. We're just like, okay. I mean, in the moment, we're not really thinking anything's weird because adrenaline's going, and you're just like, yeah, sure, man, here's a phone. Said something about he did have a phone, but he didn't have a SIM card. It was sketch. So we get going on down the road. We're hungry. We go to Wawa because we want some sandwiches. And as we get there, we're starting to realize how weird this doctor's story is. And somebody says to Nick, "Hey, check your phone, see who he called." He deleted the call log. It was just bizarre. And so then we got Wawa. Don't trust a doctor who appears out of nowhere in the middle of the night. May or may not be cheating on his wife. That's the story we invented for him. You know. And to not have a phone? What does that mean? No SIM card? We good?